requirement provided for the open public meeting law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given, said notice having been transmitted to the Courier News and the Star Ledger on Monday, March 22nd, 2019, as well as posting on the bulletin board at City Hall. Madam Clerk, Deputy Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Amati.
Here.
Davis. Present. Good.
Present.
McCray.
Present.
Storch. After doing roll call, Vice President Coffey.
Present.
Council President Mills Ransom.
Present.
6 members present, without quorum.
This evening, the Plainfield Municipal Council will conduct its budget deliberations on the 2019 calendar year municipal operating budget. The session is scheduled from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., 2 hours inclusive, to discuss the following: at Communications and Media, Information Technology, and Finance. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to, oh no, I'm not ready for that, okay. Let's invite the Director of Communications and Media and Information Technology to the table with any staff you're bringing.
Should my staff join the table as well?
If you need somebody, I said with anybody you want to bring.
They're here, but I don't know if you want to see them, you already got to stay on the side.
Only if they're gonna speak.
Yeah.
Apart and bring them up.
Ginger,
When you're ready.
when you're ready.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, before you start, I think all of the council members and the directors got the email on the format that we're using. So I'll be doing page by page, so see back and stay with us. If you don't have any questions on the particular page, we'll move forward. Okay, all right. You're over there.
So I will present the goals and objectives of the Media and Technology Division. I'll start with the Media and Media and Technology Department. I'll start with the Media and Communications Division. Okay. One of the major goals of the Media Division in 2019 is to create a more satisfying end user experience for all PCTV viewers and increase viewership. We're going to do this by taking a number of actions. We plan to update this, we're going to update the Scala platform, which I believe is already in progress, and work with the graphic artists to improve the quality of slides shown on PCTV. We're going to make the content available on our YouTube channel and through a portal on the website. That's going to allow for end users to view these on mobile devices as well as on their desktop computers, which will increase our viewership. We're in the process of installing cameras to facilitate live streaming of council meetings, and that should be completed within the next 3 months. We plan to work on increasing our professionalism across the division by having the staff participate in industry events to understand the best practices, understand what other municipalities are doing. There are a number of organizations that we plan to partner with, the Jersey Access Group and PBS, as well as we want to take advantage of any trainings and conventions that can support that mandate as well. We want to increase the quality of community partnership while we continue to showcase our city in a positive light. So we plan to develop at least 4 new shows in 2019, which will highlight the Plainfield community. We plan to work on the build out of a new studio space, which will provide a place to film shows that we currently don't have. And we are working to build partnerships with the artistic community and other organizations around Plainfield to develop content that is reflective of our community and its diversity. We are working on creating a historical record of the celebration of the 150 years of our city. And that is going to be a living document which will be a memento of the anniversary celebrations that are currently taking place. We are working on creating digital signage for the 2 train stations, but of course we have to get permission from Jersey Transit before we can move ahead with that, but that is something that we would like to pursue and provide public access content to a larger number of Plainfield residents through utilizing those 2 platforms. As far as the communications goals and objectives, in 2019, one of our major priorities is to update the information on the city website. We're working on clearing out old information and trying to streamline the flow so it is more intuitive and user-friendly. We're rechecking all links to ensure that they're working and that they point to the right place. This is to create a more satisfying end user and a more informative experience. It's a constant ongoing process. It's not a one-time thing. So even though we do this, we realize that we have to keep revisiting this over and over. But it's a major initiative for 2019. We are going to redesign and relaunch the City of Plainfield mobile app. We want to ensure that we provide all access possible to our website and place information quickly in the hands of all our residents and visitors, and that's a part of that initiative. In addition to our regular marketing and branding activities, which have been very successful and instrumental in bringing investors and visitors to our city, we have set as another priority in 2019 to have all materials translated into Spanish and to increase our outreach to the Latino community through advertising and participation in major events. Our goal is to communicate more effectively and create marketing pieces that reflect our diversity. In 2019, we'll create a landing page which will track clickbacks from our digital ads and social media efforts, giving us a more comprehensive understanding of how well our marketing and branding efforts are working so we can make adjustments if necessary. We'll work with a creative partner to create an ad to promote Plainfield as a transit-friendly community. This will be placed in the rotation of ads we currently have running. Plainfield has 2 opportunity zones, and it's important to pull investment activity around our train stations where the zones are located and develop marketing collateral to be placed in those train stations as well. We'll create engaging digital content for social media platforms. Our intent is to increase Plainfield's social media presence by at least 25%. Digital content has been a proven tool for increasing engagement, and we will also incorporate live feeds and coverage of events to entice interactivity between our social media pages and the public. We've built a robust social media presence over the last few years, and we've increased our presence by 650%, and we want to continue to build on that success. We will continue to provide support for all our city departments and divisions. We're unique in that our division has to work with every other department. And we want to ensure that we maintain a consistent level of quality in the materials and communications that are disseminated on behalf of the city. As far as information technology, in 2019, we'll evaluate the probability of doing a virtual desktop migration for all City Hall employees. The benefits of a virtual desktop include less desktop administration and reduced costs of upgrading the network infrastructure to support more end users. We're going to conduct a detailed assessment of the current IT infrastructure to identify potential hazards or problems which could occur down the road and be costly to the city. The document digitization pilot is in process, and we're evaluating the results. Ultimately, these scanned documents will be able to interact with the fasttrack.gov database and provide full information on each lot and block that has done business with the city. This is an ongoing project, and the pilot will be completed in this year. We continue to roll out the fasttrack.gov project. Phase 2 was rolled out for the health division, and implementation was done for the planning division. Looking forward, we intend to roll out a GIS component as well as develop a public portal, which should be rolled out by the end of the year. We continue to work hard in the IT department to support the employees of the City of Plainfield by evaluating hardware and software which need to be replaced in order to prevent disruption of essential services. 2 such hardware pieces that have come to our attention are the catalyst switches at the courthouse and at the annex. Software upgrades will include Windows 7 and Office 2013, which will soon no longer be supported by Microsoft. We'll continue to replace old hardware to keep our workforce producing efficiently, and as such, 30 units are scheduled for replacement this year. Our IT division continues to work hard to provide quality support for all City of Plainfield employees, continuously evaluating equipment, responding to service calls, and taking advantage of industry events and training to keep up with changes in fast-paced IT world in order to deliver the most efficient service possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go any further, welcome Mayor Matt. Julie, you're just an observer, like to say something?
Well, at this time, I would just like to thank you and the citizens who participated in this process. I know how important this is, and I wanted to stop it before I go over to the deal of Dr. Nelson.
Well, welcome. Okay, with the process, I think it'll be easier if we start right here with the Vice President. And,
So the page, we're starting from page 1, right?
if you have something on the overview, let us know and we can find you before you start the question.
I'll say, my only question for the overview was the upgrade from Microsoft 2013 and 2019. Can you just talk about the cost of that? I'm kind of curious why it is, it seems to be an urgent thing that we need to do because it's no longer being supported. So it's just something that we certainly support. But just talk a little bit about that upgrade.
I'm gonna ask our Director of IT, Nat Singleton, to respond to that.
Well, we have no
Just come
choice.
to the table, please. And see that we're gonna try to work with you. It may not be exactly the way you'd like it to flow, but we need to do certain things.
The Windows 2000 is going to end of life. Windows 2007 end of this year, so therefore it's not going to be supported by Microsoft with updates. So we have to go to the new version of Windows, the upgrade. Also, the Office products are also going to the end of life, and we've got to upgrade those. The question is, how do we roll those out over a period of time? We start at the end of this year, we start at the beginning of next year.
On average, how often should we be upgrading our software to make sure that we're up to date?
Well, the software gets upgraded automatically. Once we get it, for example, Windows 2010 is constantly upgraded every day. What happens is Windows, for example, 2010 will go to end of life. Microsoft says, well, we have a new version of Windows that has so many enhancements that we're calling that Windows 2019. Therefore, we are not supporting Windows 2020 anymore. You can keep it, but anything goes wrong, you can't come to us for any corrections or anything. You have to go to the new version in order to get support from us.
Is this the next upgrade from 2013 to 2019? Was there some other upgrade in
There was,
operating system between?
There was 2016, it was Windows 2000 2016.
So we didn't need to upgrade then?
That is
We're-
correct.
We're doing it because it's end of life in
Right.
2013.
Because they're no longer gonna support that.
It's sort of, we have no choice.
Windows or Office 2016?
Office 2000, Office is going to end of life at approximately the same time. So we have to upgrade that also at some point in time.
Okay. Well, just a comment. I mean, my thinking is that when it comes to, if we want to be cutting edge, we don't want to always do it when we have no choice. We want to be proactive in ensuring that we have the best software. That's it. No further questions.
Council members, any other questions on upgrade?
How long do you anticipate the upgrade to take?
Wait till I come to her, because she had a question and I didn't hear it. Yes, this is the question that was put on the floor by Council. Okay, now, Council, correct?
How long do you expect to do it?
It depends on how we decide to do it. We'll probably do it piecemeal, department at a time. to, reduce the interruptions on everybody, because there's gonna be some training involved, because the end user interface changes. So you're talking approximately 3 months to do the upgrade for everybody.
Any questions on upgrading? Did you have any? I don't know. Okay. I'm sorry.
Does it require any new hardware, or is that it? In order to run?
Not really. It's only in terms of some of the memory may need to be upgraded on some of the systems, but that's already taken into consideration in the upgrades that we're doing to the hardware.
Have a question?
An upgrade.
Yes.
Okay.
To piggyback off of Councilman Hockaday and to his point, when we decide to upgrade, are we only deciding because that's the end of that life, or how are we deciding like now is the appropriate time to upgrade? Also, why the long rollout process of 3 months?
That's my best guess at how long it's gonna take to do it. I don't wanna do it all at once because I feel that would be too disruptive. My best guess is I do the department at a time. Take one department, it's rolled out, they learn, and they go to the next department. You had a second question.
Yes, so when we think about upgrades, what's the rationale between waiting so long? Because Microsoft 13 was 6 years ago.
Well, you don't want to put brand new software in right away because there's also the possibility that you're going to run into problems with that software. And in other words, I may not put it in day one when it comes out. I may wait a couple of months until that software is tested to see if they run into any serious problem with that software.
Right, but for this we waited 6 years, so we were getting all the
Well,
things out, or like just why, with the
Money.
rationale between why it took us 6 years to move to the new software updates.
Money. I would have to put that in the budget and upgrade it to say Windows 2016. I'd rather not upgrade to Windows 2016 because in Windows 2020, the Active Directory structure is brand new. If I go to 2016, I've still got to go to 2020. I still got to redo the Active Directory structure, so that would be more work.
Also, if we're looking, so if I understand correctly, we're looking to move to where people could access their computers from like any place, like mobile,
Okay,
remote access, is that where?
that's a virtual desktop.
Okay, so we're looking to move to that. If we upgraded earlier, would that have changed how we rolled out the virtual desktop?
That kind of makes no difference. A virtual desktop is kind of independent of that. Virtual desktop is contingent on the bandwidth in the network that you have. So we're testing that out. I've done 10 end users right now, mostly managers who have virtual desktops, so they can work any place on their PC at home. They can work. I plan on rolling it out to the inspectors on their new tablets so that they can access their systems to virtual desktop to their tablets, and probably to some other end users. I have another 10 licenses I'm rolling out. And I'm doing that incrementally just because I want to see the impact that it has on our network and how the end users like it. Now, a lot of people already here have it and they really like it.
Thank you.
Is that an upgrade?
Yeah.
Okay, just asking. Okay.
Yeah. What makes this upgrade different from any other, and do you know how long it's going to take? I know earlier you said something about, was that a guesstimate, or was that?
You can do, the upgrade is in terms of how you roll it out. My department would have to go to each person's desktop and install a new version of Windows. That would take maybe 2 hours per user to do that. I would do it by department, as I said before, and I would do it piecemeal. I would not do it all at once Because if there are a lot of questions as to the user interface and thing, I want to be able to handle the volume of new questions that people may have on how to use the new version of the software.
Is it usually a smooth transition, or do you just get problems?
I will tell you, there are always problems.
Which those problems will slow the process then for people to go
Possibly, but there's like, you're talking about 40 million lines, 100 million lines of code. There's always going to be some problems. There are always going to be there's a little learning curve in it, so people have to learn to use those slight differences. Like,
Will there be training? Will there be training?
Yes. Yeah, that's why I would do it incrementally, so you can do department at a time. It's much easier to do it that way than to try to do it all at once.
No questions.
Yeah, we're on, anyone following that page, you know what page you were on for upgrade?
That was the.
That was just a general introduction, okay. Let's go to the first page. You have a question before the money part?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
On the outreach for the Latino community. The overview that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth page.
That deals with financing.
And I just wanted to know what the percentage was of outreach now.
Pardon me?
You have numbers of how many we're reaching now and
In terms of with the Latino community?
that Latino community.
I don't have numbers. I mean, I know we try to be, we're reaching out to them to find out what events that they have, so we can have representation there, but we don't have any numbers. You can't really, it's hard to track numbers when you do a community event like that. I can say 300 people were there, we handed out 200 flags, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those are the 200 contacts that we made. Do you know what I mean? We're able to track numbers when it comes to our digital outreach efforts. We can see how many people visited the page, we can see how many people click back, things like that we can track.
And earlier you mentioned something about the meetings and everything. In the future, do you plan to have those meetings translated in Spanish?
The city council meeting?
Yes. Since we're still talking
What
about.
do you mean translated?
Well, yeah, but
What part?
what I really want to do is stick to the financing piece of it. If it's something that you need background on, could you jot that down and get it to her?
Okay, we'll do it now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, other council members with questions?
On the financing piece?
We're still with the director.
So I have a question.
Oh, what page?
Just on the page with the numbers on it.
With the numbers. First page of the numbers, I know, okay. So, that's where we're going.
The first page, yes.
First page with numbers. What, I'm sorry, see back, that's right, we did say we'd come out to you, upgrading. You wanna talk about it? Oh, okay.
I had a couple questions on the upgrade. First
Yeah.
off, how many PCs do we support altogether?
I didn't see
Approximately.
him from your.
Approximately, let's see, PCs say approximately 218, and then there are some ancillary devices which would get us up to maybe 250 max. And that's just for our side, then you have the police department.
Okay, and just looking, I don't know if this is appropriate time for the question, but I'm looking at your budget, hardware and software maintenance, does that include software that you're talking about now, Office and Windows? Or is that a separate line?
That's just the regular hardware software.
So where's that budgeted, the software upgrade that you're talking about?
That comes into my request for in the capital budget. I put it in there.
Okay, so I'm seeing 102,000 for this year, hardware and software maintenance. What is that for?
Okay, that is for our virtual service. That is for our support for those virtual service. That's for other ancillary software that we use, and for the purchase of new hardware and software for the purchase of network equipment and things like that.
But not Office and Windows upgrades.
Not at this time.
Okay, for, moving forward, if the council people don't open the page, let's not go to this week, okay? Now, Councilwoman Davis.
Yes, I see that you asked for $500 association dues. What associations would you all join?
She's on the first page.
$500.
$500.
Yes, under association.
There are a number of associations that I'm
Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, like I'm a member of the National Association of Public Relations, and National Association of Black Public Administrators. Those are just two, and this would include other people in the department as well.
I also see in the budget for the Director of Technology and Communications, professional development training. Can you just also give us some examples of the staff development training?
Right, so we've identified a few possible agencies that we can work with, understanding that it's often difficult for our staff members to travel. So there are a number of trainings ordered through lynda.com and Business Training Works, which would be beneficial to our staff to take advantage of those trainings. We haven't identified the specific training yet, but they offer a wide variety that would enhance the professional development of people and staff. You're welcome.
Any other council person on that page? See that? Numbers? Okay.
It's on the salaries and wages.
Speak just a little louder.
Okay, sorry, on the salaries and wages, since there was no activity in the past, assuming it's a new department, and I see that we have a secretary that makes significantly more than the director. Was there more than one secretary, or was it
No, the director's salary is shared by another department. That's why
which department was that?
it's chief of staff. The narrow is chief of staff, so the salary is paid by that department, that department.
Just a quick follow-up. So you requested 154, but admin approved 112. What was their difference?
Because I did not at the time realize that that portion was going to be paid by chief of staff. So that's why I asked for that amount.
Got it. Thank you.
Go to the next page. You didn't have to, I can't really just read mine, okay? Just, I mean, put your hand up, I'm following you. Okay.
On that particular page, other materials and supplies, admin recommended 3,000, and you guys requested 5,000. I want to know what was the additional 2,000 was.
Well, it was an estimation. This is the first year, that we are together as a department. And that was anticipated, office supplies and different, needs. And the admin decided that they didn't think I needed the extra 2,000, so that's what we're going with.
Next page. And please remember, we got other departments here. And to ask the questions, no question is a bad question. We take all the questions, but follow each other and let's move. Any council member have a question on this?
Is this on media and communications?
I can't hear you now.
Are we on media and communications? Is that where we are?
No, we're on the second page. Right after the intro, there were 2 pages with numbers. So we're on that one, right there where you look at the question was. Right there, where you hand. We're just going page right there. The question was whether somebody had a question. Right now, I haven't heard it. finished with it? All right, now, we're on media. Sure? Yes. The media and communications.
No question.
All right,
So on outside consulting services, last year, the media department spent less than $1,000, and the year before they spent less than $1,000. Why is there a need for $15,000 this year?
So, So this year, we have a combined division. It's communications and media and communications is one division. That $15,000 supports that's for specialized projects that the internal team isn't equipped to handle. And that's supporting the ongoing branding and marketing of the city. For example, the state of the city, the 150th commemorative journal, and for census promotions.
And salaries and wages, the department requested $182,000, but the administration recommended $223,000. Can we just have a rationale of why the administration recommended a lot more than what the department requested?
Basic difference is that there was a clerical position moved over to that budget group.
Is that the bilingual clerk one?
Yes.
Okay. So is that a new position? But that wasn't listed on the new positions. It was just transferred over? Okay. And can you just explain what that position will be doing in that department?
That position supports, provides clerical support across the entire department, from media, communications, and technology. That's partly the clerical that we have across the entire department.
Okay. And the line for.
don't go over there yet.
Alright, thank you.
Anybody else on this page?
Excuse me, I noticed for the overtime, it's been pretty much maintained, with the exception of 2016. Are you anticipating that you will be needing more for this budget?
To be honest with you,
But I mean, I'm looking at what's requested and.
we actually probably would like to have more, but because this year, with all the activities taking place with 150th, our staff is putting in a lot of evening hours, supporting not just the events, but all the activities the council takes, that the council does, that the mayor does, etc. So we would like to have more, but we understand that we have to be prudent, bearing in mind the current budget shortfall that we're experiencing. So to answer your question, yes.
Councilman, if you look at the numbers, we actually is in line with what we spent last year, which was 5,100. So again, in the past, we have budgeted 2,500, which obviously in the last 2017 and 2018, you can see that it was not enough. So we went based on the amount of different events that we expect to have for the rest of the 2019, and based on the amount of initiative that we have going on.
You're anticipating?
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you.
Any other council questions on this page? See that?
Media and communications, the line that reads 202, there is no description provided for it. Could you tell us what's on for?
Last three digits. 202.
Professional training.
That's professional training, like in any other budgets, is professional training and staff development. It just didn't make it into the title, but that's the line 202 is for every division is the same professional training and staffing.
The highest amount under travel business reimbursements, the highest amount paid out was $1,299.64. Why the need to increase this line by $1,700? What travel and business increase do you foresee?
Well, the division is larger than it was previously. As I said, now media and communications is a combined division. And I also do believe that it's important for the staff to take advantage of any training that we can do within a reasonable budget. I think it's important to keep up to date with industry standards, to have our staff. That, as I said, those technology changes very quickly. It's also important for them to go out and meet with people from other municipalities to share best practices, to see how we can bring some of that back here to Plainfield.
Lauren?
Yeah, two questions.
Oh, were you finished?
No,
You weren't finished?
no.
I'm sorry.
One
Wait until she's.
My last question has to do with outside consulting services. I just wondered, since we're planning on bringing on a media group, did we look toward a consultant for advice on whether we should do that or outsource that service?
We really didn't use any outside consulting services to make the decision. We made the decision based on what we saw as our needs for the year 2019 and thought that was the most cost efficient way of addressing that.
Okay. One.
Two questions. The bilingual clerk, is there any reason why they could not reduce some of the need for the overtime? Because am I interpreting
The
right that that's
overtime
the overtime of that department?
the overtime that we incur is from people like Josh and Jamie who need to be here taping like an event like this, or the IT department who needs to set up technical equipment. So the bilingual clerk doesn't affect that at all. It's something totally different.
Okay. And hopefully I'm not repeating Valerie's question, but the consulting, it's increasing every year. Do we see that leveling off or maybe decreasing? And if you can give a little detail on what the consultants.
Right, so as I mentioned, this figure, again, this department is new, right? We have combined a lot of services from one department, one division into another. So this consulting services, this figure might look like it has increased exponentially. That is, if you looked at the figures from 2018, it's not that big a jump in what we use for it's in line with the services that they provided last year. So you're only seeing it reflected here because this is a combined new department. But absolutely, we are part of training our staff is to ensure that maybe we can bring some of these services inward instead of looking to consultants in the future. But we're not there yet.
Publications. In the past, there hasn't been much publications done. I see you forecasted on a great deal. How did you arrive at $30K?
Actually, that figure is exactly what was spent last year. The only reason it's not reflected here is because it was budgeted under another department last year.
What department was that?
Administration and finance.
Piggybacking, I'm sorry, about the consultant, outside consultant.
That's okay.
I just wanted to question that. In the past 2 years, I know you said you combined departments, but in your goals and objectives, I see you anticipate doing a lot of work, a lot of stuff in the city. What percentage of your goals and objectives is outside services? This is outside services.
What percentage?
Yeah, well, or just tell me what in your goals and objectives might be just outside services.
We utilize like I mentioned some of the big projects that we would be using an outside consultant for. For example, we utilize an outside consultant to help prepare the report that was given for State of the City. We'll be using an outside consultant for the 150th commemorative journal, which is a once, probably in my lifetime thing. I don't think I'll be here for 150 years. And also, we're looking at the Census 2020 next year. There's a lot of extensive groundwork that we have to put into ensuring that everybody gets counted. So I anticipate probably utilizing someone in one capacity or the other for that promotion purpose.
Yes, Mark?
Sure, one last question. I see hardware and software maintenance again here. How is this different than what we're going to see later in the IT budget?
The hardware, this is for the actual, this is for the maintenance of our email, our website hosting services. That is outsourced right now. It's maintained in the cloud. That's an ongoing expense every year.
Seems like a high number for just what those things.
Well, it's not maintained on any of our server. It's all cloud.
I understand.
I can't speak to whether it's a fair number. It was arrived at through the process that we use to give all our vendors.
Does something like that go to RFP? Is that
Yes.
good?
Yes. It's good.
That's it.
Okay, next page.
I have a follow-up question before we go to the next page. So you said that communication and media are kind of just combined in one department. So if you look at the two different budgets, that's a combined $7,000 for travel and expenses. So my question is really to the administration, is that on par with what other departments have? Or is the $4,000 in the director budget just for you and the secretary, and then the $3,000 just for the media staff? Or how are we dividing those numbers up?
The first part of your question, is that on par with what other departments are doing? I can't speak to that, but on the other departments for this one.
This is a little higher with the director level because this is communication, media, and technology, and the chief of staff.
Oh.
So that position has different challenges and opportunities with regard to those things. So that group will have more than you'll find most others.
So some of the travel to the chief of staff.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Next page. Let's just see that. Nothing?
So we were looking at the program and community initiatives.
Okay, we're having a problem hearing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, can we use those last three digits? Or is this one like that?
288.
No, not on this page, well, there's some, but when it's one with the digits, okay.
288,
Okay.
program and community initiatives. You notice that the department had requested 10,000, but administration dropped it down to 5. And I'm looking at all the goals they have in this department for community outreach and doing more things with the community. Why was it dropped? Why did it drop?
I'm not a nice person. What I would tell you is that, when you look at the events that we have planned for this year, many of them get covered in other budgets. So that the 150th, has a budget. So what we tried to do was take into consideration all of the different things that are going to go on and make sure that we had money in one place or the other. So based on that, we cut there because some of the things like the 150th anniversary, that's a new budget. So we had to cut something.
You looking at your question?
Yeah.
got your hand up, what's that?
Under the program community initiatives, in 5 years, we spent less than $5,000. So can you just explain what comes out of that budget line?
How I do it, that's a question.
Where was she?
Yes, yes. Okay, so I will, since he's on here, I'll speak to we, wanna do some, we're developing, we might as well go those 40 programs that we're developing. Could you please respond to this?
What's that?
So under program and community initiatives, in 5 years, we spent less than $5,000. So if you could just explain what programs come out of that and why the jump to $10,000 or $5,000, what the.
288.
288.
I will say because the department's bigger, we have more people now, so we have enough people now, so we can actually get some things done.
So what can we expect to come from the expenditures from that budget?
Hopefully, we want to partner up with some local organizations to highlight what it is they do in the community. The first thing I guess we're going to do is probably work with Queen City Mentoring Academy in the summer. That's the first step. We're going to cover that whole process, do a whole program on them, highlight what they do in the community as well.
So
We're working with another production company that's based out of Atlanta. Hopefully, they'll produce some programming.
So this translates to program?
Yeah, programming, just basically highlighting what's in the community, things that people are doing in the community, different programs that they want to highlight, that we can advertise, and put on our channel, put in our newsletter, different publications.
Okay, I have just one more question. Under publications, so we have money set aside and every year nothing has been spent from it, but now this year the request is for $30,000. So can we just explain what that publication budget is going towards? Because nothing's been spent in 5 years. So to go from spending nothing to spending $30,000 just seems.
That money was spent last year, we just budgeted on some departments, but that, I'll tell you what it goes for. We put out several newsletters per year, that is, printed and emailed to every resident. That's a large part of it. And, other publications that we put in some, but again, that money was spent last year, it's just not reflected on this budget.
Can we also get the metrics for the newsletters that we email out to people, like maybe the open rate, like the click rate, like how many people we get to go to our social media, or we get them to click on the actual
I
items?
metrics for the e-newsletter,
Yes.
you want that now?
No, can it just be emailed to us?
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, I asked you to kind of jot this down, send it something outside, you can send it to the ballot.
Quick.
Line 267, video equipment. Should that be considered under capital expense, which is placed in the budget? 15,000.
Next question. Should be in the capital budget. I don't know. What's supposed to be in there? 15,000.
267.
267 video.
What's the actual question?
What are you gonna do for the
That
15,000?
under capital,
That's what the question is.
under the capital budget. The definition of the capital is that it has to be something that is gonna be used for at least 5 years, is that right, Director West?
5 years, there's an amount of money it's supposed to be a capital item. You know, if there is hardware that the group will tend to buy that we don't necessarily capitalize, whether it's cameras or anything else, and it's my understanding with this request that we weren't quite sure of what we were going to do. We were anticipating, as a result of the live broadcasting and all, to having additional equipment needs. So you can't get away with not having details on the capital budget side. This will give us the opportunity to buy some odds and ends as far as the organization goes, as they grow to meet the needs and demands of having, an expanded PCTV capability. Could it be capital? Yes, if it was flushed out and everything else, we might have put it there, but it's not there now.
Yeah, well, we're anticipating on, as you mentioned, working on a new studio. Obviously, we're present in the office. So we probably gonna need some equipment to get those through this year. We usually don't spend too much on equipment. We try to work to the end of the year. We try to work what we have. But yeah, like I said, we anticipate trying to work on opening a studio. We need some additional equipment for that. In regards to live broadcasts, like you said, we may need additional pieces. We will need additional training that we have to pull some money from. We have to get certified on the actual broadcast piece to operate the hardware. Or if we have broadcast, somebody has to operate that and be there, and also work from the office. So we have to have two people tandem working together correctly. And hopefully that's also be broadcasted directly to our website. I can't promise that, but that is what we anticipate on trying to do. We may need additional funds for that as well.
I was going down the line, I thought I saw time you said, and I would get to the issue. Okay.
I have multiple hands.
You had go ahead.
Apologies all, because I am definitely traveling from New York City. Several accidents, and my apologies for my tardiness. But my question is going back to your program and community initiatives. And responding to the councilwoman, you noted that this was for, I'm gonna say, content and programs for content. So I'm gonna just kind of add on to the question, just dig a little deeper, because given this is a community programs and initiatives, can you go back to maybe the headlines of those programs? Because if I heard you correctly, it sounds like you're tying in the development of content and what's needed in that development content, i.e. producers, other people and programs to this date, to this number. And what essentially I'm getting to is that I feel like that's still low if we're considering content production, cameras, folks, and then I'm still not hearing clearly what type of programs or content you're looking to develop within that line. I know it's kind of heavy, but I'm also from the media space. So I'm digging for how this is being broken out, given that you have a content idea, and then how you plan on supporting it only with $5,000.
Hopefully with a lot of love and kindness, because that's what we do anyway in the media department. We don't really work with much. We just work with our own equipment a lot of times. And people that we're trying to talk to have their own equipment as well. So we're trying to ask people to actually just do it as a civic move, to the community. Like I said, right now, it's just, these are ideas that we have. There's nothing concrete other than Cleveland City Mentoring Academy. Like I said, we have a production company based out of Atlanta. There's an issue with the producer right now, so that's kind of on the table.
So this
as far as our media department, we want to try to introduce some classes for young kids as far as teaching them how to produce if they want to get into media at all. Myself, I'm a writer, producer, director, also do music. He's the same way. Another person, Osway, she's also a graphic artist and photographer. So we have a lot to offer the kids, but right now we don't have the opportunity or the space to get back to try to teach other than through the summer employee.
Copy. So this program line is for the Queen City project, but in Atlanta, in addition to possibly some classes or some mentoring for young children who are interested in that communications.
That's right.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
So was that the reason behind the initial $10,000 ask?
Yes. You ask as much as you can. Start out high, see what happens.
And if I can, just a follow-up question. Sorry. Follow-up question. So again, with you guys, a little late, and I apologize if it's repetitive, then please stop me. But I know some of your goals and initiatives are around some really hefty goals in regards of partnering with PBS, winning some Emmys. So again, looking at this budget in total, want to better understand where you're looking to fund a level of content development and the things required to create those type of partnerships and that type of those type of projects and that type of media at that level?
Like I said, we all have extensive backgrounds. Myself, I'm actually a member of the academy, so that's our problem as for any time that you produce programs and get them onto PBS. That is the route that we can go.
Right.
So like I said, I'm a member already, so I'm already at the game. Osme is also a member. She's already has some stuff on TV, it's on WeTV, OWN as well. She's produced a couple shows on there as well. So we have connections already. So it's just a matter of us producing the content, using our resources, and using our content.
So, not this time, it'd be great to kind of understand what type of content you're looking to create to serve that level of possible.
We're gonna have to cut that. Okay, we're approaching the 8 o'clock hour. We have another department, so as we get to information technology and the finance committee, to your questions.
I'm sorry.
Yes?
So in information and technology, outside consulting services, what
Are you giving me the number? I'm not thinking of last 3 digits.
219.
Okay.
What exactly is that entail? In the outside
The 9,000?
Yes.
That's really, our.
That's primarily, that's our virtual service, that's Sysnet Solutions, and Mr. Humphries that most of that. And Mr. Humphries is the workflow automation that we do.
Also, can you send us just the metrics of Joe Humphries, how many people are using it, what's the success rate so far, just how well that is going? Thank you.
Any other questions on that page? See that?
Getting back to outside consulting services, so you mentioned the VDI integration, virtual desktop integration. VDI, virtual desktop integration. Was that budgeted for this year or for last year? Because last year was also around 90, as was 2017.
Virtual, no.
This is.
Outside consulting services, you said one of the things they did for you was to consult on virtual desktop integration.
They did, some number of virtual desktops we implemented as a pilot. That was 10 virtual desktops. Are those dollars included in the monies we spent last year? Yes.
The majority of this money, I'm sorry, if I might interrupt, the majority of this 90,000 goes toward paying consultants. All of our file server sharing, all of our file servers are now in the cloud. And the majority of that money goes to pay for that. We don't have any, we have maybe just one little server right now.
So it's a service contract?
It's
or
a
outside
service
consulting?
contract.
Right, so it's misleading to say consulting services, okay.
Right.
But again, $90,000 over the past 3 years, that's
That's-
exorbitant number.
That's
That's hardware, software, maintenance.
right.
We don't own any of the equipment. So we don't have any servers anymore. So this is everything associated with the computer network for the city. So all of our servers are now outsourced. There is maintenance provided there, 3 levels of support, whether including desktops. So this group does all of our computer hosting.
So that makes more sense, just calling it outside consulting services, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they do our second level
Okay.
support also.
Okay. Next page.
So you just mentioned the hardware and software maintenance, but on the next page of 234, where you also have another $100,000 expense, can you go deeper into what that's going towards?
That's just a regular hardware and software maintenance. That is the year-to-year payments that we make for the hardware and software.
Is it the same thing we were just referring to page prior? You just maybe explain the difference.
You said outside consulting services was
Correct.
the first one. That's all for the virtual service that we use in Mitchell Humphreys. That covers that cost. The hardware and software for the regular Windows, for Office virus protection and things like that covered in the software maintenance that we pay, the hardware maintenance that we pay for desktops and things like that, as opposed to the service. We're not paying for any service now, since we've virtualized that. All our servers are virtual, and they run in a tier 3 data center, which we went out to bid, and we took the lowest cost bidder for that to host for us for the 3 years.
It also pays for things like Community Pass, which is a software application that's run out of Recreation. It pays for something called IQM2, which is run by a vendor called Excella, which is how we manage all of our city council meetings and the documentation of everything that takes place in the council. But IT has the responsibility of paying for most of the software support throughout the city.
Thank you. And so I'm assuming that's also an increase in price, which is the natural progression of technology. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Taking a break?
No, we're not breaking anything. Okay, please exchange seats. Thank you, I'm taking you, Director Clayton. And we're welcoming the Finance Committee to the table.
Sit back down.
You read all the things, highlight which
As it should, it was a simple question to try to understand what was IT programming training initiatives. The W slash.
You want me to answer that? Yeah, I'd like to do a robotics program, which gets kids hands-on, and the robotics coding thing, they have a whole little package that they get. I'd like to try that out this year.
Get under recreation.
But that's exactly
yeah, that's the first layer of it. It's not a recreation program? You're bringing up
I put that,
robotics.
robotics.
put it in my budget to do. I don't know if
Okay, we'll talk offline on that. Yeah, I mean.
But no.
We'll summon you back to the chair, sir.
You don't want me.
Let's go.
Thank you, Director West.
I'll take a slightly different approach. I want to go over the goals and objectives, and I'll talk about some of the accomplishments over 2018. One of the critical things that we need to do is have a tax collection rate of 97% or better by year in 2019. As major budget impacts if we don't make that number, which we did not do for 2018. We came in at 96.94%. So close, but we didn't make it. So it's something we focus in on, and we work very hard and send constant notices out to delinquent taxpayers. But the thing is, we always try to focus on tax collection rate. One of the other things that we try to do to stay within the statutory requirements is to make sure the budget is introduced by the end of March of every year. We did that because we get told by the state what the dates are that everything needs to be done by, before the year comes into play. So that's one of the things that becomes critical when the state starts looking at how well we're managing finances. It's imperative that we regenerate a surplus of at least $6 million This year, we've done that for 2018, we had a surplus of $10.3 million, which you'll see in the proposed 6.7 went back into the budget. But that's a number that we have to make. The failure to make that would lead to all sorts of changes when it comes to budget hearings and that sort of thing. So it's important that we do that, and we try to take steps throughout the course of the year to position ourselves to do that. For those of you who were around 6 years ago, we came in with better than 33 audit findings. We had one last year. The intent is to have 0, but again, it's something we target to. Hopefully we will have a good audit report when it's finalized for this past year. But it's something we focused in on, and again, it talks to how well we are, managing finances and policies and procedures when it comes to the handling of money throughout the city. So it's something that we ask everybody to help us, whether it's how quickly they move checks over to audit and control, to anything else that has to do with money and the management thereof. There were a couple of questions that came up about the capital budget. The key thing that we're looking to do at this point is to get the submission that we had for $3.5 million. Approved by council. It will be up for second reading next month. And this money is used for infrastructure, programs. And it's a combination of roads and all other things. Where we look to equip, public works with the equipment they need to get the job done, and police and fire, the library. We try to spread it around so that we are allowing for improvements in all areas. But one of the things that you have to recognize is every dollar we borrow at some point has to be paid back. So we try to minimize how much we borrow, and we try to go after the most critical initiatives that are cited by each of the groups in terms of what equipment and or equipment that they need to help them get their job done. We made some steps in this past year at taking a look at what's known as the 457B plans, and that's a voluntary plan made available to all employees, where they can save additional money toward retirement. One of the things we're trying to do is educate employees on the importance of saving, so that they can, when they retire, knowing that they've taken care of their financials, when it comes to that. So with regard to 457B, we currently have 2 vendors that we use today. One we are questioning how well they are providing support to us. The other we're happy with. And so we engaged a consultant last year to help us enforce or carry out our fiduciary responsibilities. We, the city, still have a fiduciary responsibility even though it's a voluntary plan. So we've engaged an outside group to work with us. And so we're taking a look at things, and we've met with the unions to tell them what we're doing. But one of the key things that resulted just from the short time we've been doing this is that rates have been cut substantially to all of the employees that are participating in that plan. And we're going to take a look and see whether or not we need to keep the other plan, which is MetLife, or do something else. So those are the kinds of things we look to do with regard to the 457B plan. We also have a need to complete a review of our health benefit alternatives by October of this year. We want to make sure that we want to know whether Aetna's the best price and service provider that we can get, that our money can buy, or if there's someone else out there that wants to buy the providing of insurance benefits to the city of Plainfield. We haven't had lots of options in the last couple of years, and we were able to be very successful by introducing a new program, which some of you are very familiar with. That's called the Difference Card. We tied that in with Aetna, and has allowed us to not have any increases in our health benefit costs in the budget in the last 2 years. We want to make sure that we maintain a Moody's, they call it MIG-1 rating for 2019, and that ties into our short-term bond financing, which is what we tend to do more often than not when it comes to the annual financing that we do for our capital ordinances. So it's municipal investment grade is what it stands for, but it's the highest rating they offer. We'd like to keep that highest rating because it impacts the interest that we pay. And we talk about limiting a tax increase to no more than 1.5% for 2019. Without complicating things, when we take out the things that we can, we're at 1.49% with what was proposed this year. But again, it's something we're looking at because we know that there are a lot of pressures on our property owners with regard to tax payments. So we want to work with them and try to do all that we can to stabilize, the tax rates. And there are lots of plans going on, and some of which you've heard this evening. When you start talking about the promotions and the TV ads and everything else, they're all tied to trying to invite people to come here and spend their money in restaurants, buy homes, have businesses want to locate themselves in this city. Because one of the things that we've got to see take place over the course of time is we've got to bring in more commercial and industrial companies. Because right now, better than 80% of our taxpayers are property owners or homeowners. And that's one of the things we would love to see that percentage go down and see more commercial and industrial taxpayers come into town. Now, in terms of the budget, from an overall perspective, you've heard about some of the transfers. The budget within finance was reduced by 20.53%, or $119,000. And again, that's because of the creation of, two departments where the money was moved on to. In terms of unique things, for anyone that wants to ask about the consultant line, there's $75,000 in there for grants writing and support. We had an employee retire who was our grants manager, and so we moved those salary dollars to one organization, but there's a need here in the city to find all the grants funding opportunities that we can. So we've engaged 2 consulting groups to help us from a grants management perspective. And that contract will run into 2020. So what you're seeing here in terms of the $75,000 is what we expect to spend this year, with those 2 consultants. And one is going to be focused on the arts and performing arts. The other one is doing grant support across the full spectrum of the city. So they're looking at every department, and in fact, there's a meeting taking place, or meetings taking place this Wednesday, where each of the departments gets an opportunity to tell them what their priorities are and set direction so that they can start the grant writing sooner rather than later. For the most part, the finance budget is down. Even OE is down by 4.54% from the 2018 budget. And other things that you may be interested in, it's within finance that we are paying for the training for system. So that number is sitting there, and under program and community initiatives, so that pays for the Cisco training at both Union County College as well as at New Covenant Church. So that's what you'll see in that budget line. And again, did move the grants manager salary position over. So you'll see that in terms of the staff reduction, but that'll be picked up by another organization, who I guess you'll hear from next week or the week after. But that's it for finance. So per your instructions, I'm stopping at this point. So we can ask questions about finance before we do the other budgets.
Thank you. Council.
So general question, you were talking about the importance of the tax collection rate, and you mentioned the 96.94. What was that? What's the difference dollar-wise compared to 97%?
I didn't calculate that, but put it this way, it's minuscule at that level. But we're coming at, when we started, we were at 94%. So we've made significant strides. But the other thing that happens, there are budget lines that talk about not just uncollected taxes, but there's a reserve that we have to set aside too. So that's where your trade-offs come. So what you don't, And that reserve is called Reserve for Uncollected Taxes. Which means that in order to collect 100% of the taxes, if we're at 96.94, well, I gotta make that 3.06% up on the other end. So you gotta charge 103% to make the money. So the thing is, you really want to get people to own the homes, pay the bills, and we got a whole host of programs in place to try to help those who suffered from the economy over the last few years. So we've been looking at lots of other organizations that come in and help us, help the homeowners who are going through tough times. But, whether it's foreclosures or anything else. But we're really, from our perspective, we take a very conservative approach with regard to the budgets. But what we really want to do is get to the point where the more we collect, the less we have to reserve. The more revenue we will have, so I don't have to do a $6.7 million contribution to the budget. We can use surplus truly for a rainy day.
And just a follow-up, so what do you credit to the uptick in being able to collect more?
We have an outstanding tax collecting unit. In addition to that, I think the whole team has come together with regard to the notices. I think the things that are very positively being stated about Plainfield all have contributed to people wanting to help us move forward. But part of our job is to sell the city each and every day. We have a very good, we have one of the best tax collectors, in the state, and so that's been a key component.
Thank you.
Councilman Bennett.
Mr. Kessler, you mentioned something about programs for those struggling to pay the taxes. Is it careful for me to, is it okay for me to assume that when they fall behind, that those programs are put in a letter form to let them know that if they need help, that it's available for them, or they have to reach out? What other way do you have?
It would help to reach out. What we've done is advertise the existence of these programs, so people are aware that they exist. One of the first groups that we brought in was the Boston Community Capital, which will help those who are in difficult times and facing foreclosure. They have a program where they would come in and look to buy from the bank the property at its current value and resell that current value to the homeowner. So if you were $200,000 underwater, you would get that mortgage for $200,000 less than what you had before.
So would you say this percentage has a lot to do with a portion of it? Would have a lot to do with some of the programs that have been rolled out for tax?
I would think that everything that we're doing helps, but we know that we have far more challenges. We have people on fixed incomes who are struggling to pay whatever bills they have. So we know we need to do more. So part of what you're seeing that we're trying to do, particularly around the training programs, is to gear folks up so that they can get out in the market and make extremely good wages, because they are technically prepared to go out into the marketplace and get hired.
Thank you.
Mr. Senator, or you're on a page? You're on a page. Okay. See that? Anything on the other? Okay.
I just have one quick question. Who does our external audit?
Suplee Clooney.
Who is it?
Suplee Clooney out of Westfield.
Councilman.
Well, actually, it was on open, not out.
Where are you now?
No, it's that, sorry. I was just on the wrong page. So you talked about limiting the tax increase to 1.5%. And you said when you took out everything that we needed, it should only be like 1.4%. Correct?
If you go back to the handout that council was provided with a while ago, talked about the debt services and the increase in pension payments that you get to take out of that.
Right.
So that's how we make the statutory requirement to come in at under 2%.
Right. But when we introduced the resolution, I think the recommendation was 3.5%.
That's a different number. That's what all those other things add back in there. It's one thing in terms of what the state is imposing. So the state tells us that we can take certain things out in order to make 2%. By the same token, the real number is 3.55% in the introduced budget. That's with everything in the budget. No exceptions. It's two different worlds. We have a statutory requirement, which allows us to discount or reduce certain factors. Then we have the budget with everything, no reduction. And that's the 3.55%.
I think my question is, what is the real number that the recommendation is for residents? Is that
3.55%. That's the number that the residents are going to see. That's correct.
One additional quick question. Of the 3+% that was not collected in taxes, do you have a sense like how much of that is from abandoned homes versus people that are not paying their taxes?
No, we haven't broken it out that way. It's outside of my purview, but I can tell you that there's a lot of focus on abandoned properties, and that doesn't mean the taxes aren't being paid. It just says that it's abandoned. I mean, we can take a look to see, what other information there is. I just worry about the number of properties, the number of liens. I can tell you though that there are 1,000 units that are at risk for foreclosure out of the 16,000 properties in town.
Okay. Let's see how we have first sheet. It's not?
No, it's
No, it's not. Oh, is it with that? It's okay.
See how can I do the, we done with all right, so I'm done with that whole tab. I was going to controller next.
No. We got you.
Nice try.
First page. No, see that? If you don't have any, don't make any up now.
Everybody got their work.
Okay, all right, you got your worksheets.
Okay, so, you've already clarified the outstanding services. Just so for clarification, for the program and community initiatives 232, that's the Cisco training in addition to the other program initiatives you talked about for taxes?
It is primarily Cisco training in that budget line. There are two pieces. There's a Union County College piece, and then there's one that we're doing in conjunction with Nantech World out of Newark, at New Covenant Church. It also, takes into consideration other initiatives that the city will undertake. We participate, in things like the, concert in the park. So that's a community initiative. So, if there's a need, we participate in that and other programs that we think are fairly broad-based and appealing across the whole community.
So this is separate from any other department?
That's correct. That's correct.
And then the other question was around computer software maintenance. Hate to be a stickler, but we just had a great conversation about how about 100,000 is covered under IT. So is this 5,000 for line 259 or something separate outside of that, given IT is taking care of everything else?
Number
259.
Yeah. I would tell you that as the head of finance, what I find happens is that there's always a new project or a new tool that we need. That's there as an unknown, a general purpose thing, because it happens all the time that someone has a need for something new and different that wasn't anticipated earlier, and there's only one source of funds.
Is this your slush fund?
I don't use that term.
We're gonna call it software maintenance, understood. Thank you.
That's it.
President, I have a question.
Yes.
So we just talked about publications with community media communications and, line 255. So it says that only 5,000 was spent in publications. However, in the new media budget now, 30,000 is being asked. So, why that increase of $20,000?
We spend more than $5,000, I'd have to go back and look at the actuals on the other side. We spent $27,000, on publications. So I'd have to go back in and look at this actual, but there's no way that we pay that. We spent $27,000 in general for publications.
If you could get that information to us, like where we should add the budget last year. Thank you.
So to that, why are we holding on to 5? Why isn't it all transferred to communications?
Mary?
The same line, and so she just sparked a question, just sorry if I may, I'm kind of running off of hers. If the 27, she's asking for the 27 went last year, but if all the money has been given to communications, is there a reason why we're holding on to the 5,000 here?
Yes, what tends to happen is if there's a request for an additional newsletter or a publication to go to all of the homes, the only way that gets done is if there's a budget line that will allow for the payment of it. So this is a general purpose budget voting now for publications, and it's really geared up again. When you look at the 150th year, I'm expecting that there will be budget challenges, in terms of meeting the budget. So
Claire, it's like overage, just in case it's over what's ever been assigned to media.
or media, or there's another budget line that's called the 150th anniversary. So that's really trying to be positioned so that if and when there are issues, we can respond.
Just 2 different ones.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Are we all on control then?
In terms of objectives and all, most of that was covered in my overview with regard to the controls group, or audit and control, but that's where all of the financial management is conducted for the city. And with regard to that group, if you look at the 2019 budget, in terms of other expenses, it's up 9.25% above the 2018 budget, but it's really because we picked up merchant fees. And that has to do with the introduction of our parking meters, like in parking lot 8, parking lot 6, which is down the street, and so we have to pay for merchant fees. In terms of salaries and wages, it's up 4.94% over 2018, and that's with regard to the contractual obligations of 2% plus whatever steps the individual would be doing. And if you look at from an overall perspective, the budget's up 5.69% above the 2018 budget.
So Ron, do you want to continue talking to us about the overtime and the training? Just 2 lines, so that's, line number 4.
I didn't hear you.
She noted it. But that's okay, I'm sorry. The question was looking at line 104 regarding to overtime.
Oh, okay.
This is Rick Regards, he's the Chief Financial Officer.
The overtime line, we originally had a staff count budgeted that was removed from the budget. So what we did there was, we have a few projects we needed to get taken care of. So we put 10,000 of the 50 some odd thousand in the budget for the staff person there, and the staff pick up the slack that we might need to take care of there.
So the staff person you're referring to is from a different
No, they're in my department.
They're in your department, so that person left, I'm telling people I heard, they left, and then to cover up some of the time and they're leaving,
Correct.
this is what this has been, came from. So this technically came from their salary, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, and, for that line, and then for line 202, professional training and staff development.
Correct. That has to do with, you're probably gonna ask the same thing down about travel, business reimbursements. That's to do with class that I'm gonna attend on the National GFO conference.
And just so you know, this is an individual who has a requirement to maintain his certifications.
Okay, you good? Okay. You on the same page?
Yes.
Okay.
No, one next page, sorry.
All right, next page.
Okay, the payroll expenses, we're asking for double of what we spent from the previous year. Can you just explain why?
I'll start with that. For those of you who haven't been involved in banking, there's something called compensating balances. When you have a lot of money in a bank account, so you can negotiate for certain services. We were able to do that for years and have them pay for things like on the car pickups, our merchant fees, and that's behind us now. So, and they were paying our payroll every month. And now we got to the point where they are no longer going to cover payroll. So we were getting payroll for almost free for 2 years, and that's run out. So now we have to pay for payroll services, and every time we produce a check, there's a cost.
And I would just add to that, that we're contractually obligated to pay the payroll company. So I cannot sit back and hope that the bank is gonna compensate us on a month-to-month basis. I have to budget for it, prepare for it, because we're contractually obligated to pay them. So if that doesn't come through, I need to have the money in place to pay them.
Deliberation.
Yes.
Mr. West, excuse me, Mr. West, was there a savings for, correct me if I'm wrong, now you go online to look at your,
Yes.
did he save anything from?
It'll save us a little bit of money. You mean by getting rid of paychecks?
Yes,
Pay stubs?
pay stuff.
It'll save us, dollar amount was. $2,400 annually. So that's what we're looking at that we will save. It was just, most people weren't even picking their pay stubs up until weeks later. So it's available to them online, just like it is to each of you. You can go on tomorrow and see what you got paid.
But it's a savings.
Along
It's
with
still, it's still a savings.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's correct. It's just not 30% or anything else, but it's a movement in the right direction.
Thank you.
Okay,
Under your computer maintenance, define your department and the controller's department, you guys work together, right? So why is the computer maintenance so much?
This is strictly for our finance software that the whole city uses. It's fall under my purview. So everything that's
So
out
it's
there.
totally different software?
Correct.
You don't pick that one up, but it's on those same servers we talked about that one in the cloud.
Okay, next page, you're getting too familiar. Next page. Okay, you're gonna hold it figure out fast.
Madam President, wow. Mr. CFO, Notice we had two assistant comptrollers. Why two?
Where are you?
It's historical. It's historical, those are titles, they have different functions.
Okay.
Did you purchase it?
I'm trying to see if I do that figure again. You good?
I'm good.
You good?
No,
Okay, perfect.
All right, for purchasing, I want to spend a minute and just give you some sense of the goals and objectives there. We happen to have a new purchasing agent. One of the things we've got to do, just to make it easier for employees to know and understand, is we're going to finalize the completion of a purchasing manual. So that when people can't remember how to do something, they will have this document available to them that they can refer to. You know, again, purchasing, which was one of the sources of a number of audit findings, you know, is anticipating that they're going to have 0 audit findings. And they're what some of the things we have to worry about. We have to make sure we have W-9s, the tax numbers for all of the firms we do business with. That we have a business registration certificate on file. That we are adhering to all of the EEO standards. You know, all of which we can be cited for those kinds of things. So we want to make sure that we have 0 audit findings. You know, that's why I mentioned the piece about the equal employment affirmative action characteristics. You know, we will be conducting citywide training for new employees and staff regarding Edmund, our financial assistant, you know, particularly around requisitions and purchase orders. You know, to make sure that everyone's given the opportunity to know the system thoroughly and minimize any issues that result from a lack of knowledge. You know, most of you are aware that postage went up in nickel. Well, one of the things we started introducing going back a couple of years ago, and now we're moving even more toward, is to get away from mailing where we can, things like purchase orders and requisitions. You know, we don't mail them when we can. We try to email them or fax them. We got all this hardware and software, so we are looking to take advantage of that, and it has allowed us to have better control, you know, of our postage costs. And again, we are facing, you know, what was a significant increase 2 months ago, I guess. So part of our intent is to stop mailing paper where we can, so that we can live within the budget that's proposed. You know, we're going to look to further computerize forms and documents, which translates into we'd like to get more and more digital. You know, and not move paper around, but try to use forms that get moved digitally, you know, around the organization and help us get the job done. So there are opportunities to do more and more with Edmonds. So we'll be looking at some of that, you know, as we start laying out plans for improving our efficiency. You know, mentioned BRCs and W-9s, but again, what we try to do on an annual basis is go back in and make sure we have no gaps. You know, that every vendor file has an appropriate BRC and W-9. And that will continue. I talked about digital technology. The next line just talks about the fact of email and faxing purchase orders to vendors. And not only does it reduce postage costs, but it's improved our customer service substantially. We pay better than 90% of all bills in 2 weeks. You know, and that's because they're getting it a lot sooner. And they are certainly now learning that they can send it back to us that way and get into queues to pay. Yeah, the other thing we're doing is trying to make sure we stay on top of those requisitions and or purchase orders lurking in the system, the shipping process. You know, so we've got what we're looking for in terms of every 60 days somebody will be going in and looking and making sure that if there's something still pending there, what's the problem and what do we need to do to get it resolved. And I talked about, you know, that, but now we're also looking to do the same thing with regard to requisitions being moved. We want to make sure that all of the authority, you know, people with authority to sign those documents, turn them around. Most of you have heard that we have a mandate we're supposed to be working on called 248. within 24 hours, no more than 48. So the intent here is that papers move. So when they're in your desk, you get them back because, again, we're trying to make sure that the vendors are willing to work with us because we also pay on a timely basis. You know, from a budget perspective, when you look at purchasing, you know, the budget's up 16.98% over 2018. For those of you who are going to ask the question, it has to do with the fact that we didn't have a purchasing agent. So for many months last year, I was the purchasing agent, you know, due to illness. And so we hired a purchasing agent. So what you're seeing there is we brought a purchasing agent on. That purchasing agent will be in the budget all year this year. So that's the big change there. You'll also see that on the operating expense side, the budget is 3.09% higher than 2018. Again, most of that's attributed to the anticipated minor increase in postage costs. But again, that's a somewhat small increase. Overall, you're talking about the budget being 16.39% higher than 2018. Again, that's by having a purchasing agent in there for, you know, for the full year. Purchasing agent.
Thank you. First page.
Also, probably, Mr. West, so the 73,000 is based on the purchasing agent, that's based on the prior year, 2018. I'm sorry.
It's actually on the last page,
That's
but it's
correct.
in reference to
Not,
salary.
that's relevant.
It's a reference to salary, but he's referring to the breakout in the last.
Gentlemen, answer my question, now it's for 9 months worth of salary. Right? That's what I'm about.
Anybody have anything on the first page? Council, what's your first? No? Second page?
On the second page, once again, just out of curiosity, again, we have the legal publications. Just want clarity in regards to this department, what it refers to publications as.
There's no change in definition. You know, last year, well, we used multiple budgets to pay for publication. So this is a similar definition of what you previously heard. You know, if there's a need for a demand that can't be paid for by the department, you know, purchasing or my budget will have, maybe have funds to cover it. But, these will be requests that will come in, you know, that are, you know, since it's 2020. We're at the beginning stages of figuring out all that we need to do to reach out. You know, so if we find out that we've got to do more with regard to the census, you know, I've got to have funds for that because the census, which really kicks off next year, is extremely important to the city and making sure that we have the right count. So that's the biggest project that we've got that is undefined in terms of all that we need to do in the way of materials to try to get many more people to come out in support of the census. We're anticipating people not wanting to come out in some areas.
So I'll be back on that.
In regards to the census, are you looking to partner with organizations or outside entities to help us with the census? Because I know there are a number of organizations who are working to ensure that people are counted. So are we looking to collaborate with them?
All of the above. We are not we don't have all the horsepower needed to get it done. We are looking to partner with every agency in town that has access to people who we need to reach. You know, you should also know that we've also spent a lot of time updating the database around that so that we've done a very thorough job of saying it. In this apartment building, there's 100 units. You know, so the census records will indicate all of that. We want to partner with the county, with the state, with the federal government with regard to the 2026s.
Yes. Question, you were looking to reduce your postage costs. Do you use the Every Door Direct program for any of the billings?
No, we have our own, postage equipment, so, so we do that.
Do you know your cost per piece? Because I use EDPN and it's saving me like maybe 17.6 cents per chip.
We have not looked at that one. We will certainly look at it and see. You said that's EDPN?
Yes, Every Door Direct
Yeah,
mail
yes.
to the post office.
You didn't say anything.
Yeah, I know, I was saying, okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Administrative services is tied in with purchasing. That's where we tend to buy all of the, central supplies for the city. So that's what you'll see in that group. Plus we've got the payments for the leasing arrangements for our copiers and postage metering equipment. And so if you look at the budget for 2019 versus 2018, there's no budget change.
Can you tell us what co-op fees are? Co-op.
Yes, we belong to Morris County Co-op. We belong to 2 or 3 others. We're in WUSA, which is the Western USA Cooperative. So we use all of those groups to help us get the lowest possible prices, for purchasing. And that gets compared to the state contracts, GSA contracts. But these are all groups like Morris County Co-op is where we tend to buy our asphalt and the labor associated with our road paving program because they got the best possible prices. But anybody that says they've got a high-performing deal for us, we will look at it and see. And all of these have to come before council for approval if and when we do it.
Yes.
Under professional training and staff development, line 202, the request is for $2,500, but last year was only $228.
That's correct. What I'm looking at there is we need to do more with regard to training employees. You've heard that already this evening. And so the intent there is to, at a minimum, when you look at the staff and purchasing, where we need to do more in terms of giving them the tools that they need to do a more efficient and effective job. So from my perspective, that's not a lot of money when you talk about investing in our employees to help us become a better organization.
Also for travel reimbursement, you said administrative services were more for like the central supplies for the city. So 2 questions to that: why is travel under that, and why $500 when in like 2 years they've used less than $200?
I would tell you that this is a catch-all at $500. There may be a need to surfaces. But, we're talking about, remember, an $85 million budget. So if we don't have money in the budget, then we can't use it. So this is just in case.
Line 231. Could you give us a number, please?
234,
Okay.
equipment repair. The previous 3-year average has been about $8,600. Could you give us a little detail why it's going from 8,600 to a 3-year average to 2,500?
Part of what's happening is that the equipment is certainly getting older, and I'm expecting that we're going to get more requests to maintain things. And so this budget item was done in recognition of the fact that we've now gone about 4 years without investing a lot of maintenance money in equipment. So it's just in anticipation of a need to do that. So can't tell you that anything's broken at this point in time. But again, this also takes into consideration, there could be a situation that arises with some other equipment. We've got equipment in the clerk's office, around IDs and all that. May have to be paid for if that doesn't work. And that's not funded in the other budgets that have been talked about so far to this point.
Line 232, programs and communities.
The first thing that's going to come out of that, as soon as the budget's approved so we can pay it, is there's something called the Blink Parking Lot Initiative. We are going to have to pay this group out of New York called Spectrum $10,000. That's where we had an arrangement on the lighting, for the parking space behind, I don't know if all of you know where Blink is, but where Supremos and all, the road was paved, the parking lot was paved, there's new lighting and everything else. Well, we gotta pay for the connection that PSE&G, or the effort that they put in to make that work. We've got a couple of other initiatives that may require help. I talked earlier about the Music in the Park event. There are also concerts that may take place here that, again, when they come up, I've got what will turn out to be $6,000.
In addition to the other line you referred to before.
That's correct.
So line 234, I noticed that you asked for additional $10,000. I just want to know, was that in anticipation of?
Yes. Right now, that's allocated for furniture, for the Office of Corporation Counsel.
Okay. What type of furniture is that?
It's a conference desk, a conference table, it's a desk, it's cabinets, and the price tag on that furniture, and we've looked at multiple options, is $10,000.
I'm sorry. For point of clarification, a committee member asked about 234, and it was around possible repairs, and I was saying line 234 is also for furniture?
234 in this budget, which is the admin group, that budget is for furniture for the Corporation Counsel's office.
Because one, that was your question as well.
I
And you
thought
said
it
it
was 20, no, I thought he asked about different.
Oh, where is it? Yeah, because I was trying to find it. Where are you?
Yeah.
He's 234.
No, you're correct. No, the big piece of that is it was $10,000 is furniture for Corporation Counsel.
Copy, and then the remainder is for what you want.
It's for repair, that's correct.
There's no staff in this chart added to this section.
You know what?
Is there staff associated with
It's
that?
the purchasing staff.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You all done, you want to talk about publications, right?
Next page.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the On the next page, my favorite question, publications. So we see that last year's 20,000, which I'm assuming a majority getting moved over to communications, but now we have another $10,000 line. Assuming that you said the definition of publications remain the same, is your answer the same for this line as well?
Yes.
So another, just in case line.
Publications.
Yes.
Can you just send over to us all the just in case lines for publications, because it seems like we have a few in the budget. I think we have to about 3 minutes making it. So you could just have a total of all these just in case publication lines, just so we can see what the actual number is, because this is like 3 different lines and 3 different budgets with publications in it.
We're only too glad to send it to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
For licensing, I noticed you guys requested $500, but haven't used it in the past couple years. I was wondering if you guys anticipate using it this year, or that's a just in case as well? Yes, sir.
That's just an anticipation. You know, it may occur, but again, in this case, we're talking about, you know, across the whole city, where someone may have a licensing. Do I know today what that's going to be? No, but we're talking $500.
We're still in the control. What meeting?
Okay.
Oh, we're,
Tax collector, I'm sorry. Tax
Oh,
collector.
yeah.
Is that where we are? Tax
I don't know,
collector.
it's here. We got the numbers yet, but we're getting ready to go.
Yeah,
Tax
and administrative services.
You're, you want to say something?
I spent time talking about it before. There are 3 key things that we look to do. We talked about the tax collection rate of 96.94%, trying to get that to 97 or more. Also, the number of properties going to tax sale. 2018, as you probably read, there were 884 properties that went to tax sale, compared to 417 in 2017. The majority of which are for P&UA charges, not city charges. The other thing we try to do is minimize the number of liens that the city takes on at the end of our annual tax lien sale. You know, and as of the end of 2018, you know, we had 22 liens that the city, you know, took possession of. It was a very low number. We'd like it to be 0. You know, when you talk about the budget for 2019, the OE budget is the same as the 2018 budget. The 2019 salary and wage budget is 2.53% higher than 2018, you know, which is your contractual increases. And on an overall basis, the budget is 2.28% higher than the 2018 budget.
Council. Feedback.
We're on the tax bill.
Yes, yes.
So, where it says in 2018, there were 884 properties that went to tax sale compared to 417. What is this P&UA charges?
Sewer and garbage payment.
Just your legal advertisement, 217. You don't have anything later.
That's because we didn't do any special property sales this past year, you know, through the Office of the Tax Collector. We decided to do something unique and different to acquire a property. We have to advertise all of that. And we didn't have any special measures that we pursued in 2018 that necessitated us doing that. So you'll see just the mailing costs that occurred for all of the tax notices, delinquent tax notices. What we do on occasion, we'll have the opportunity to use special tax laws, to take ownership of property.
So in the past 2 years, that hasn't occurred?
We haven't had a need to
Need to do it.
do that.
One more question on the PMUA charges. Is it correct that PMUA is a private entity, it's not a city organization, correct? So why are we doing the tax sales because of PMUA
We're the
charges?
only entity allowed to do it by law. They don't have the ability to do tax collection. It's not within their charter.
But that's not paid through taxes though, so I don't understand why PMUA would not collect that on their own. We don't pay shared services in our taxes.
They would love to not have to go to tax sale. But in order to have liens issued, liens come through the city. They don't have the ability to generate liens. They certainly collect taxes. I shouldn't say taxes. They certainly have the ability. You can go there and pay your bill. But should you be delinquent in your payments and you don't pay within the course of a year, a notice will go out from the city. The city is the chartered institution that issues all liens.
Okay, I'm just not understanding why we would take care of PMUA charges. I understand cities can only issue the lien, but why do we handle pass-through collections for PMUA?
Statutory.
A statutory requirement.
It's required because they don't have the ability to attach to a piece of property. The piece of property is attached to it.
I understand that, but why would they not go out like any other firm would and use a collection agency?
Statutorily, they're
Never the agency of the city.
They were created by the city, they fall under the city's program.
Okay.
Other questions? Next page.
Under the auspices of the tax assessor, a few key points to note. The tax assessor's office worked with us to auction off 11 properties over the course of the year. They yielded $485,000 in revenues. We also sold what's known as 2 substandard lots, which generated another $2,100 in revenue. We did have added assessments of $2,376,300. But I also have quoted before that we had $6.7 million in a net change in our valuations. For this upcoming year, we have a significantly lower number of tax appeals. We only have 278 this year, which is probably 200 less than we've had in the last few years. So that office, again, has oversight responsibilities for all improvements to properties, making sure that our records with regard to properties are up to speed. And so it's a shop that's done a good job for the city. They've also done some work with us with regard to changing the census database because they've got all the property records. So we have a very good database that we sent to the census organization. From a salary perspective, the proposed budget is 3.04% higher than 2018 budget. And again, that takes into consideration the 2% cost of living adjustment plus any step increases. And the operating expense side is 11.16% below the 2018 budget. And that's pretty much the tax assessor's office. So if there's questions on this line.
Question?
Just a question regarding the tax assessment. I did tax appeals and contributed to the this year. And I did do a decline in this year. But I just wondered at some point, because I believe I understood that our last assessment was in 1992. Are we trying to avoid going to a full-blown city assessment?
I think the way to answer that is we will not be doing one in 2019. At this point in time, we're watching what's happening statewide. It costs us over $1 million to do, the revale. And so, at this point in time, we're gonna wait and watch and look to see if we get mandated to do a revale. But it's been 25 plus years since we've had
To do it at the highest point of our housing market doesn't help too many of us, does it?
Well, remember, what we're going to see is 1/3 usually go up, 1/3 stay the same, and 1/3 go down is what the historical numbers say. So don't know until we do it. But what it will do is it will adjust everything so that there will be no need, at least in the near term, for any appeals, because everything will have been brought up to speed, and we would then be looking to put in play a process like what they do in, I guess it's Somerset, where every year they bite off X numbers of properties. They go out and update the records to see if there are adjustments that need to be made. But we would want to be proactive about keeping at least the records up and minimizing the need for us to get way out of kilter with regard to assessed value versus market value.
Thank you. That's it. That's it. Okay, now. Citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the city of Plainfield. A total of 60 minutes has been allocated to all public comments to be presented. If you wish to be heard, give your name and address to the clerk for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, will be limited to 5 minutes. I just opened it again.
Alan Goldstein, 939 Madison Avenue. Been listening to some of the back and forth here. Just a couple of minutes ago, the gentleman on the CPAC had asked a question about PMUA. And he had asked whether PMUA was a private company in the context of getting liens and such. To which Mr. West acknowledged, he said it was a private company, but in fact it's not a private company. Management is appointed by a board of commissioners, which are appointed by the mayor and the city council. It's an agency and instrumentality. Now, I was on the CPAC in 2009, 2010, 2011 budget years. And that was really the first opportunity I had to look at this budget. And I thought it was very odd at that point that on the one hand, the city was getting money from PMUA, and on the other hand, it was paying money to PMUA. And I thought that was a little bit odd. So I did a little bit of research, which started with reading the interlocal agreement, which is basically the contract between PMUA and the city that establishes their financial relationship. And it didn't take very long to realize, number one, is the city's not, and PMUA is not doing what their agreement says they should be doing. Now, for those on the CPAC who are making suggestions and such, you should know that it took 8 years of me continually getting up in front of City Council and PMUA, speaking to people individually and such, to get them to change 2 words in the city budget. And the 2 words were revenue share. But the actual genesis of that money was the sewer lease. Now, no sooner had a mayor taken office, a councilman moved into that mayor's previous, or a citizen moved into that previous councilman's seat, that this agreement was corrupted. Now, I said revenue sharing. There's never been a penny of revenue sharing paid by the PMUA. The sewer lease was started to mirror the amount of money the city was getting from the utilities, from the sewer utilities that they were running before the creation of the PMUA. Now, as soon as well, put it this way, I'll just get to the point. The city is supposed to be paying the disposal. It's supposed to be getting estimates, reconciliations, tonnage figures, and such from the PMUA on an annual basis. It's supposed to be being paid a solid waste lease, which is the difference between what it's estimating and the amount of the money that the city is putting aside to pay the disposal bill, not to pay other operating expenses and so on. And the city is supposed to be paying that directly. I will not that the vote is in my hands, but I don't support any vote in favor of this budget as long as this scam, which now is going on for nearly 20 years, continues. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with transparency. I think that we should know how much garbage we're picking up, what types of garbage we're picking up, and how much it costs to get rid of it. And if you're going to do any analysis or assessment of what PMUA is doing, or what kind of solid waste we're creating in this town, you should know those figures. PMUA is supposed to provide those figures annually. They're supposed to provide an escalation factor calculation. They're supposed to provide revenue sharing calculation. Of course, they've never made a payment with revenue sharing, but the city decided to call it sewer lease revenue sharing to deflect attention from the fact there was no solid waste lease. And there was never a solid waste lease. And in fact, this agreement, which is dated in October of 1997, was corrupted and undermined 10 weeks later at the beginning of 1998, and it's been continuing ever since. Now, obviously, the city has acknowledged a small and lasting, because they changed the wording after 8 years from PMUA revenue sharing to PMUA solid waste asset lease. Sewer asset lease. Of course, they didn't tell me, even though I've been talking about this for years and years. So I wouldn't vote for any budget. If I was on the CBAC, I wouldn't approve of any budget that doesn't reflect the commitments, representations, and such that the city council has made, that the people have made, and that has been voted on.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein.
Yep. Timothy Priano on Martin Avenue. A couple questions, and Nate brought it up. He brought up the name Mitchell Humphrey again. We haven't seen it in the council since January of 2017 when we approved money. And prior to that was 2014 and 2012. I thought Mitchell Humphrey was already implemented, and it said in the budget that he's adding, you're spending another $100,000 on Mitchell Humphrey. And I don't know if Nate got that wrong. Because then
he said that something, you're right, sorry.
I'm trying to understand. Then Nate said that we have another system that's gonna come in that's gonna do the same thing. So I'm confused which system we're working with to have all the CRMs done. And you said the app was gonna come in too, but that's all tied into the same thing about customer relation management. So which angle are we going at? That's the only question on that part. Should I go or wait?
We need you to continue, so we're not using your time.
Okay. In reference to the budgets, the money that was spent last year, and I know it's very difficult for Jazz to figure out this year's budget because last year was 7 different age groups in this building moved money around, from the city administrator's office to the economics department to admission and finance, to all these different areas. But where do we figure out how we can compare one year to the next? Will there be an updated record stating that the money we spent for the Comcast was in city administration last year? This year, we had it coming from the director of communication. So when does the city see a line-to-line comparison instead of going through 6 different departments to understand where all our money is being spent here because we merged this new department? That's it.
Comcast is Comcast, so that will now, that resolution went forward, it shows the account it's being charged to. You know, in prior years, you know, it was very clear what Comcast was being charged to for that money as well. You know, there's no way to now go back and put the, I mean, you can put them side by side, but it won't be historical. It's only on a going forward basis. You know, when we talk about what we did from a advertising perspective, you know, we've done that for 2 prior years. You know, so that can be summarized as you articulated. In terms of comparing communications next year with what's been done historically, you know, I'm not sure that there will be, you know, a lot of value in that. I think the thing that's going to be critical is looking back at the goals and objectives that you've heard about tonight and how they reflect on what we've accomplished. You know, there have been reports made in the past about the success of the prior advertisements, you know, that the city has had on Comcast. We would hope that we see more things occur that are very positive in nature. But that you're not, you know, looking at the new department versus what took place in the past, you know, isn't going to necessarily answer anything other than tell you how much we spent, you know, for the Comcast budget. That we don't have to do a compare. We can, well, you already know what the answer is in terms of what we've done. We can certainly do a search against Comcast and tell you.
We spent, if you're talking about the ads?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the citizen can see things on one line. So we say Comcast is under one department, that's a new one. So it's a code number that we can easily see, as Ron just said. We can see the path where the money went. That's what I'm saying.
I would have to offer further clarification. We use Comcast for more than ads.
So back and forth. Okay. So I just want,
just so that
they have your questions, they will respond. Okay.
Thank you.
And relative to Mitchell Humphrey, that's the only pure customer relationship management or CRM system that the city has in place. And it's been a multi-year implementation because it requires a lot of consulting time on the part of Mitchell Humphrey, you know, in terms of looking at how work is handled in each respective business unit. So planning and Health 2 and zoning were just recently accepted by the business units, because the last part of the process before they go live is that the business units have to say it's performing in the manner that we need it to do before it goes fully operational. You know, when you start talking about the money, you did a good job of articulating the history. We're still spending the money that we had requested several years ago for the rollout of Mitchell Humphrey. There is new money in the capital budget, you know, for a new version of software that's needed by the health division. But that is the only pure CRM. The other applications that were mentioned earlier, you know, have lives here, but that's it for CRM. CRM is Mitchell Humphrey.
Yeah, you know, it was like, okay.
Yeah, payroll and 29 Myrtle Avenue, just a couple of things. I'm glad Mrs. Ellis mentioned the EPM. You should use that every door direct mail because you can get a one-pager targeted to different zip codes and it is cheaper. And if you need, I'll send you the contact. But that would be really good for the census 2020. because you can target the areas that you think are gonna be undercounted by, postal carrier route, all right? And it's not, you're not being discriminatory, but if you know a section of town is not gonna, submit their census, you can at least target them correctly and, cover that, and it's a lot cheaper, and I hope you're getting less than 55 cents, because most businesses get a little bit less if they generate a lot, and you need help with the contact, we'll do that contact too. But, the other thing I wanted to mention was, two things. You talked about the, grant, person, and I'm glad that the city might be doing that. I don't like spending money on that, but in a few years, we'll have the 250th anniversary of the United States, and there's gonna be a lot of federal funding, and I've already identified sources of federal funding to the Economic Development Officer that can assist the western end of the city and also other parts of the city, because there are federal grants out there. But a person like me, I can do small grants, but major grants like that, they're just way over the top, and even the state now is getting more involved. And it's harder and harder for small groups in town to actually access that money, because, I'm preaching to the choir, you understand what I'm saying. So I do want to support that position, because I think it could be a help to the city. And the other thing I want to say is, I hope that this next round of tax payments in May, the city's going to be able to recoup the money, because I think as of today, April 15th, a lot of people got hit really hard with taxes and having to pay money out of their pocket that they've never had to pay out before. And I think the city would be wise to maybe, I don't know if they can do it, because you got, you're doing the budget now, to have some kind of like finance course for some of us that can, that don't have the ability to understand what we need to prepare for next year. Because I know that I usually wait to get my tax refund to pay the next round of taxes. Well, it's not happening this time. So I have to find the money somewhere. And I know I left City Hall today, and another lady was saying the same thing to me. And I'm so glad that my money is now going to fund porta potties at Trump National Golf Course for the Secret Service.
I think that we can guarantee you there will be finance 101 courses.
I appreciate that. I think some people in the city really appreciate it.
Yeah, but wait for a minute.
So moved. Second, third.
Thank you all for coming. See you on the 22nd.